WLX.TV on the full website, Dr. Mark Eckel, Comenius Institute, Warp and Woof Radio. And if they don't know, let's inform them as we do every week, Dr. Mark Eckel. What is Warp and Woof, and why is it important and necessary?
Sure, you bet. So, Comenius Institute has the tagline, where wisdom and life connect. And that's what we're all about. We want to emphasize what wisdom is, where we're at in life, and seeing the connections that we have all around us in life. Warp and Woof actually stands for the intersection of vertical and horizontal threads that make up fabric. So we're all warping and woofing because we all got fabric on.
Every day, all day, boy. I wish I would have found that before Jumbo, because Warp and Woof would have been my nickname. But, you know, it's ironic that what we're trying to do each week is really bring some intellectual understanding to Scripture.
Yes.
A lot of times when you go to church, it's a presentation of the orator.
That's right.
If that's fair to say.
That's right.
A lot of teaching that doesn't go down. A lot of instruction doesn't go down because the time doesn't allow that. So what we're really trying to do is give some real information about the core values of living.
That's right.
And
exactly.
we have been discussing Proverbs in the first 3 weeks of the show.
Yeah.
And I told you, it's so ironic, man. I don't know how you do this, but I just came out of Ecclesiastics, and then this week you told me that we're going into Ecclesiastics, so I'm feeling good about it.
There you go, man.
So why Ecclesiastics?
This is my favorite book in God's Word. So Ecclesiastes, or in Hebrew, Koheleth, is the book that emphasizes that all of life is God's gift. That's the refrain that runs all the way through this particular book. And so it was really kind of fun to hear the happy lyrics, you know, because that's exactly what we ought to be looking at in Ecclesiastes, is that if all of life is a gift of God, then He's given us all things for our good. And the key to Ecclesiastes, understand it, is Solomon does two things. He says, look, you can go this way without God, or you can go this way with God. There are only two lines on this street, and you can go this way or that way. And so when he talks about you can have money, and you can have wealth, and you can have all the benefits of life, if you do that without God, that's the problematic issue. When we have these views of life that are antithetic to a God-centered, supernatural point of view, that's really where we're at and what we're really concerned about.
Yeah, I made this happen. It's my.
That's right.
Yeah,
exactly
when
right.
you go there, that's when we really start running against the rules and the fabric.
Absolutely.
Of what God has intended. And it's funny that you mentioned this, because when I was reading Ecclesiastics last week, I opened my Bible, and it gives pretty much a parable about what this chapter or what this book of the Bible is about. Mm-hmm. And it was saying how Ecclesiastes was the book closest to Job. Mm-hmm. How Job, there was really no reason found for Job to go through his downfall and then to come back. And Ecclesiastes was making the parable like Solomon said, I did all this stuff and then I died, right. And it meant nothing.
That's right.
So
yeah.
It is ironic that we're here today. And this week we're going to be talking about technology, a God-given tool for our good use, and why are we wanting to call technology a tool?
Yeah, this is really important for us. We all carry around these little cell phones that tell us where to go, what to do. We got people calling us. We got emails and texts and whatever else on our phones. And they're really good. I mean, they're tools just like anything else. But, when I go to put a picture up on my wall, I don't go to my garage and get my shovel to pound in the nail. I get my hammer. Or if I'm going to go dig a hole in my backyard, I'm not going to do that with my hammer. I'm going to get a shovel. So when I think about the issue of tools, I think there's tools for everything. My cell phone is simply a tool. My computer is simply a tool for something else. So just to give a connection here to Ecclesiastes, we have all kinds of, let's say, for instance, medicinal issues. We have corrective medicine, preventative medicine, work-related machines that have given us greater ease and safety to humanity. We have efficiency and comfort. But the key that Solomon is emphasizing here is that there is no replacement for spiritual satisfaction. There is no soul, as it were, unless there is a God-centered point of view. So if we view our computers, if we view our cell phones and everything else that we have in life, doesn't matter what it is, from a God-centered point of view, now we've got soul. Now we've got the Spirit. Now we've got this view that God has given to us in Ecclesiastes chapter 3. He says, I've placed eternity in men's hearts. So the idea here is that we all have this God-shaped hole in our soul, and we need to fill it, and we can't fill it with wealth or things or anything else or technology. We fill it with the one who made us, who is God himself.
Relationship. We have to have that relationship.
That's right.
It's ironic. What do you think is the major reason today that technology is advancing either or detracting?
Yeah.
It could be one of the, because I know now when I'm watching it and we step into church and the pastors have their iPad with the sermon on the iPad, and when it first started happening, parishioners were like, they were appalled.
That's right.
Like,
yeah,
how
sure.
dare you?
Yeah,
But
and now everybody does it.
Now everybody does
Yeah.
it, so it's okay.
Yeah.
So where do you think the line is drawn when we start putting too much emphasis on technology versus that hole, as you mentioned before?
Yes.
Filling that hole.
Yeah, filling the hole in the soul. It can't be done with technology. When I think about the benefits of technology, we could go on and on and on. We could talk for hours about the benefits of technology. We want our doctors, for instance, to be on the cutting edge of the technological breakthroughs of our day, because when we get sick or when we have a real problem, we want them to go to the best thing that they have to help us out. But when we focus on this, when this is the centerpiece of our life, when we say that this is all that there is in our lives, then we have set aside the very thing that has given us life, who is God himself. So when we think about technology, we don't think about it from, gee, what can I get out of this? We think about it coming from the benefactor who has given human beings benefits from his beneficence, which is going to then give us all of these other wonderful things that we see in life around us. These are tools that we use. Tools, just as I suggested about the hammer and the shovel, and we're focused on those things. Instead, we ought to be focused on God who has given them to us.
And we're in the book of Ecclesiastes today. All things that have come have been seen and done. What do you think that's Solomon meant by?
Sure.
We've seen all things,
yeah,
because we know that there weren't cell phones.
Yeah.
But then when you look at the pyramids, you say, okay, something must have been seen and done before, because they still can't figure that out.
There is so much in Ecclesiastes chapter 1. So I'm just breezing through this Ecclesiastes chapter 1 as I'm chatting with you. And I'm looking at this, and Solomon says, the wind blows to the south, it goes to the north, round and round it goes. All streams run to the sea. All things, then he says, are full of weariness. The eye isn't satisfied with anything. What has been, it will be again. What has been done will be done again. And what Solomon ends up saying is there is nothing new under the sun. So what he's suggesting here is not that they had cell phones in his day, but that he was at the front edge, the cutting edge of all the technological advances of his day. He exercised them all and didn't find any fulfillment. He found no soul. He found no filling for the hole in his soul.
So the 2016 Mercedes hasn't been made before, but the idea and the manifestation of it can happen,
that's right,
has been done before.
Absolutely.
And it made no difference in the history of
If
man.
we have a human-centered point of view versus a God-centered point of view, that's the issue in Ecclesiastes. Is God the giver of life and the gifting of life? Absolutely. But if we have focus only on the things that we have around us, man, we are in a world of hurt.
And we're in a world of hurt right now because of some of the technological advances. Although they make our life easier, it has had a great impact on our children and the way we're able to teach and train up our children today.
Exactly.
And when we come back in this next segment, we're going to hit right on top of that. This is the Comenius Institute, Warp and Woof Radio, Dr. Mark Eckel, Harold H.B. Bell. You sit and stay. You're going to learn something today. And we are back. You are listening to the Comenius Institute, Warp and Woof Radio, Dr. Mark Eckel, Harold H.B. Bell, and we are giving you some instruction, valuable instruction today, as we try to help you maintain Christ in the center of your life. We left off talking, Mark, about technology.
Yeah.
The role that we have to deal with as adults is one thing, but the role that we have to maintain over watching our children.
Isn't that the truth?
Tool.
Yes.
Let's talk about where we are right now.
Okay. Well, I ran across this article published a couple of months ago, actually, on acculturated.com. And the sadness of this article, what happens when homes have no books? And this piece goes on to quote Carol Rasko, president of Reading is Fundamental. And she asks the question, can you imagine a childhood without books? She goes on then to talk about the problem when young people don't have books in their home. So if you've got a poor family who lives in poverty, and they're trying desperately just to make it by, and they don't have any books to encourage the reading emphasis for their children, their kids are not going to have the step up that they need. This kind of goes along with some of your curriculum that you've developed and your rural program that emphasizes reading as a baseline for young people for that first step up.
Yeah, and I say it all the time, God will take care of the weak and the weary, but I mean, if you can't understand what the text is of the Bible to get instruction, there's no way you can come off of milk, as we call it. Had Nathaniel McGuire was in yesterday, very profound family counselor, psychologist, and he was bringing information. And then here's what we need to understand, first of all, is that cultures breed different awareness levels of how to receive information.
Yes.
And this was powerful to see an African-American man telling families how to stay together, telling families how to get right. And the first thing we need to do is figure out, where do we connect?
Yeah,
how
absolutely.
How do we connect? And in this tool, this information age technology, how do we control the information that our children are going to be receiving through these devices?
I think this is a powerful question, and we have to address the issue of boundaries, I think, ultimately. There was another article, I think I talked about this actually last week when D'Amico Southern was on. This article was The Life of the Selfie, and that's just such a sad title, but here it is. Social media is destroying our lives, a 16-year-old girl in an LA shopping mall says, but then her girlfriend shoots back, but without social media, we have no life. And there's this new book out called American Girls, Social Media, and the Secret Lives of Teenagers that's just been released. And when you ask the question, how do we do this? I think this goes along with everything that we do in life. We have boundaries, we have limits, we have controls. Think about what we were just talking about off air. We were talking about basketball. And I talk to people all the time about the three things that you need to run any game. Doesn't matter, basketball, football, whatever. You need rules, boundaries, and referees. If you don't have those three things, there's no freedom to play the game. So there has to be this kind of limitation and boundary that engages all of life. And we talk about this in sports. We have no problem at all. We've got these close-ups of somebody stepping on the white line and they're out of bounds, and we get all upset about these kinds of things. But we don't get all upset about the poor kid who can't necessarily have the right grammar, who can't read a first-grade textbook when they're in third grade. My wife, Robin, is a second-grade school teacher. And she tells me all the time, she says, if a young person does not learn how to read before the third grade, they will struggle all of their lives with everything in their lives because they can't get that first step of reading.
And it's amazing because actually the programming we built was centered around that fact. We found out that the prisons were being built based on third grade reading and literacy scores.
Isn't that the truth?
Because they know those facts that you just mentioned, but solution means how can you stop that?
That's right, exactly.
I believe that if you take a 6th grader, 12th grader, and if they haven't learned these skills, you go back and teach them.
Absolutely.
Because there's no way to stop saying that we're going to educate people in this way when you know the lack of that education leads to imprisonment.
Yeah,
you know that the lack of the education is going to lead to crime.
That's
so
right.
It's like, okay, we can't stop.
Yeah.
We have to figure out a way to do it, and because a certain segment of the population is kind of left behind, there's a way to fix some of these problems.
Yeah, we have to find ways to do good, do good, do good. We talk about this every week. Titus chapter 3, the emphasis on doing good is what Paul says to Titus, and our responsibility as Christians in the culture is to find ways to do that, whatever our passions are.
Well, we're going to teach through learning and educate through film watching, some of the things that you're keen on.
Yeah.
What are some of the movies that are out here now tied to technology that would be good to watch and do some really break down conversations?
Sure. I kind of hesitate on good to watch because some of these are tough to watch. There's a new film out called Ratter, for instance, Ratter, which is about the warping of technology, where you have people who are spying on other people actually through the cameras that are in our cell phones and in our computers and so on. And that's actually a capability that some people have, the awfulness of those kinds of things. There's a great movie, an old movie from the 1990s called Sneakers, Robert Redford and Ben Kingsley. where they're having this discussion and they say it's all about the information. Well, that's really true. It's really a crucial idea, the movie Sneakers. Extreme Measures, where you got Gene Hackman who's trying to kill homeless men in the street to get a cure for cancer. This kind of thing is awful. But I got to tell you that one of my favorites I go to, because I love Denzel Washington, is The Book of Eli. And here's this man who's in this apocalyptic world, a wonderful film, apocalyptic world, and what is he trying to do? He's trying to get to the West Coast for freedom, and what is he trying to preserve? He's trying to preserve the book, which is the Bible.
Yeah.
And that's what we find out at the end of this, but the whole focus of the film, and Denzel in the producing of the film said, the book is more important than anything else.
Yeah. It's interesting that you mentioned that. iRobot comes to mind.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
When I think about movies where, the technology and what's happening now is so relevant. And that goes back to the Ecclesiastes.
That's right.
And that goes back to all these things have been done. And I can remember vividly, Mark, watching Moonraker when I was a young man. And when I saw the space shuttle for the first time.
Yeah. It's amazing stuff.
This is the space shuttle.
That's right.
So how much does movie and technology in the advancement and enhancement play a role in, even though they're fictional movies, we're seeing a lot of things. I mean, Star Trek, you think about Star Trek and, and the little lasers and tasers.
Sure.
And
all of that.
The little cell, the flip phone.
Yeah, all of that stuff. Well, I got to tell you, I just finished writing an article. It's going to be published later this year. Through Whipfenstock. It's an article about science fiction and film, and what I say in the movie or in the article is that the real issue is that the monster isn't outside, the monster's in me, and that what has to be corralled and buttoned down and given boundaries and discipline is me. So the problem isn't with the technology. What science fiction actually does is it tells us, hey, there's warning signs out there, and if you do this, then this is going to happen. It kind of goes back to Jurassic Park. Michael Crichton's famous book, which became a wonderful film with Steven Spielberg, and one of the keys to this movie, and also, of course, to the book, is the chaoticist, which is the chaos theorist scientist who said, this isn't a question of can we do it, this is a question of should we do it. And so when we come to the issues of technology, we go back to Ecclesiastes and we say, do we have a God-centered point of view or a human-centered point of view?
And as we go to break, man, this is getting good because all of us are living. Right now, we wouldn't even be talking to you if we didn't have this technology. But how do we use it? How effective can we be using it is the question. And when we come back, we're going to cut on that just a little bit more because we want to know what are the best teaching practices? What do we need to do today to make sure that Pandora's out the box? How do we corral her in a fence? You're listening to the Comenius Institute, Warp and Woof Radio, Radio Next, RadioNext.tv on the Cool site. We are back, Dr. Mark Eckel, Harold H.B. Bell, and at the top of the hour, we're going to have a special guest coming in, and we're going to really get deep into this technology and how it fits into the educational platform. Mark, as we begin this third segment, what do you think after 30 years of teaching?
Yeah.
What do we need to be teaching youth? How do we need to be teaching youth? Because we can't escape this technology, but we're going to have to incorporate it some way. But we still need principles of reading, writing, maths, basics. How are we going to do this?
How are we going to do that? Let me start by saying when I was teaching, I started teaching junior high, senior high school students. And my response to their questions was always to ask them more questions. And they hated that. And they asked me, why do you keep asking questions? And I said to them, because I'm teaching you the tools of learning. I'm not teaching you what to believe. I'm teaching you how to believe. The tools are crucial to this. So as I suggested in the earlier segments, the tools, we can use tools for anything. And we appreciate tools wherever we find them. And in today's segment, we're talking about technology, of course. But when I think about the connection of what do students need, they need the tools. But because we're in Ecclesiastes, because we're always talking about where wisdom and life connect, we want to make sure to say that all technology, all knowledge, all education begins with the fear of the Lord from a Christian point of view. So when I think about doing tools, I'm going to give you just 5 real quick. We need to help young people to assimilate true truth. We need to help them to learn how to discover truth, to discern truth from untruth, to speak truth in love, and then to actually apply truth in all of life. So those are some of the keystones for me, some of the boundaries, the parameters, the rules for life, if you will.
Yeah, and we mentioned this last week about proverb being taught through the curriculum, so to speak.
That's right.
Proverb being taught in sport. Proverb
That's right.
being taught when you go to eat lunch with your brother or your sister. I mean, you can teach goodwill of God in the
in
rules
anything.
Of,
Absolutely anything. That's right.
And so that's what we're speaking of, and that's what you guys do, and we haven't really touched on that today. The Comenius Institute, we want to remind people, is an organization that is built around trying to help educate Christian values intellectually into students leaving home for the first time.
That's right.
Students who are out there, and it's tough out here today.
It is. It is.
And so when we have our children leave home for the first time, we want to make sure that there's a grounded organization that is going to give some real food for thought, help transfer from milk to food, as
there
they
you
say
go.
in your Christian
That's
walk.
right.
So we want to make sure that you get that information out before the show is over today, in case they have some students and they say, I need Dr. Mark Eckel to look after my child on that IUPUI campus.
Absolutely. Happy to do that. This is a crucial thing for us. When we talk about doing Comenius Institute at IUPUI, I was just with the students yesterday, actually. Tuesdays, I meet with them every noontime from about 11 to 1. And we sit and eat lunch together. We talk together. In fact, yesterday, one young woman brought me her paper. She said, would you read this through and help me to figure out how to make this a better paper to my professor? So I sat there for about 10 minutes, and I went through things with her. And then we started talking about, what are we going to do over spring break? And I said, well, why don't we have a movie night at my house? I got this movie theater downstairs. We got the air hockey. We got pools. We got all kinds of game tables and stuff set up. So we got a whole bunch of folks coming over. The issue in education, always to me, is relationship. How are you going to build relationship? And you can build relationship through sports and athletics. You can build it through technology, which is what we're talking about today. Anything can be used as discipleship, which is what Comenius is all about, helping young people make that transition from high school to college.
And then, and you mentioned that, and one of the sad things that's taking place, I mean, in recent years, Boy Scouts and some of the bad publicity they received.
Right.
When you're talking about the Penn State football coach, when you receive leadership over young people who are wanting to be disciples.
Yes.
And then you abuse it. We have to hit on that, because
absolutely.
It's a tragedy.
Yeah.
When you get people's minds and their hearts, and you really can develop them now, and then you abuse that.
Sure.
The responsibility of us as adults.
Oh, here we go. This is. Can we have a whole program just on this?
We can. I don't know how I took that turn, but all I could think was we're using these great tools to manifest.
That's
educational programming.
That's right.
But
we have to make sure. Yeah, we have to make sure that our passions segue properly with our responsibilities. So the older person in any group, like last week, for instance, we were talking with D'Amico Southern, and he was talking about the big mama in the house. He said, when I was a young person, I had a grandmother, and my grandmother was going to give me discipline and create boundaries for me, and so on. This happens with teachers. Teachers have responsibilities in the classroom and outside the classroom. So we have to make sure that we don't abuse those things. Just as much as anything else, here we are, we're going to say the same thing over and over again. What we're talking about is the difference between use and abuse. Can you use technology for the good, and can you also abuse it? Well, of course, the answer to both questions is yes. Can we abuse our responsibility as adults and our responsibility in whatever framework that we're referencing? We can mess things up all the time. Why is that? The problem is, of course, our own sinful behavior, and this is what Solomon was talking about in Ecclesiastes.
Yeah, and I'm just looking at chapter 1, verse 9 in Ecclesiastes. The thing that hath been done is that which shall be done, and that which is done is that which shall be done, and there's no new thing under the sun. So with that being said, and I had, when D'Amico was on last week, I kept hearing him go backwards.
Yeah.
I kept hearing him go back to the thing that made him feel whole, which was the foundation of how he was raised.
Yes.
How do we recapture young people feeling like there is an order in a household to even want to have that kind of thing happen? Because what I notice now is we just don't have we have fractured families where the order of how children are raised is out.
Yeah, exactly right. So here's just an anecdote about that. I watched a father and a son walking down the road. They're walking their dog, and the father is on his cell phone, and the little boy who's walking with him, obviously his son, is pulling on his dad's coat, trying to get his dad's attention. And the dad continued to ignore his son, and so what ended up happening? The son put his earbuds in, and he's zoned out just like his dad. Do you think that whole thing is going to ruin relationships? Absolutely. So what's the cure to all of this? Adults, parents, all of our responsibility is relational learning. So we talk about this every single week. We do what Jesus did. We come to meet people where they are with what they're doing and what they're interested in. This is called incarnational theology, in flesh. So what's the Father supposed to do with the Son? The Father is supposed to get off his cell phone and give his son time. And actually maybe even teach his son how to do the cell phone, how to do the technology, but being with his son in relationship, man, that's where it's all at.
Yeah, and I agree 100%. And part of what we're going to talk about in the second hour is technology and the advancements of and how we can educate and include
that's right.
young people in the practice of this technology. As we end this segment, we talked about the relationship dynamic in any kind of learning institution.
Yes, absolutely. So when I think about this, let me bring us back to the issue of tools again, because we've been talking about that since the top of the hour. Let me come back to 5 more. I gave you 5 just a few minutes ago. Let me go back to some more tools. Tools that are going to be investing in people. So I'm going to give you 5, and they'll all start with I. The first one is identifying erroneous powers. So we see power plays and powerful people all around us. We need to identify who those are. Then we have to interpret a Christian view of these things. How do we do the interpretation process? Then we need to do an inductive study of Scripture. We have to be in the book. So when I walk in this morning, HB's got his Bible open to Ecclesiastes. He's reading the book. Number 4 is interaction with current issues. We can't stay away from stuff. We got to be involved in the process of learning and seeing what's being said in our culture. And then number 5, investment in the tools themselves to make it necessary for students to make the search for true truth a lifelong practice. And that's what we're all about in Warp and Woof. And Comenius is to teach young people not just how what to think, but how to do the thinking,
and do it in a proper and in a professional manner.
That's right.
Adult manner, and we're learning up is what we're doing.
Right.
And so we're going to have to get more to that. Before we go on the break, I just want to say that it's ironic that we're using tools of technology. There is no way 20 years ago I would be speaking on the radio to the world.
That's right.
There's no way that we would take. We just took. Brian came in and we have about 6 pictures taken and going to have them posted out on the social media site.
That's right. Yeah, this is a wonderful thing.
We have to embrace the tools of the day, but be responsible
That's right.
for how we teach and how we use them.
It doesn't matter what day we're in or what tools we're dealing with. All of life is one of 2 things. Either it's human-centered or God-centered, and you have to make a choice about that. That's what the decision
is.
And
that's the reason I tried to come back to that, because I don't care what the time was. When the stagecoach was first invented,
right, doesn't matter.
It was dangerous if there was irresponsible people, right?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
and
that's
when
right.
the gun was invented, it was dangerous
Same thing.
from the very first day if
That's
you
right.
had irresponsible people handling it. So in Ecclesiastes, to sum this up, everything that has been done before and shall be done again. And how responsible are you and how centered are you when you get to that phase?
And the key to Ecclesiastes is understanding the centerpiece of what Ecclesiastes teaches, and that is that all of life is a gift of God. Go read the book of Ecclesiastes, see that refrain, that chorus line that runs all the way through this book. A marvelous book, my favorite book in the Bible. It's a wonderful book to talk about this morning.
You know, Solomon was so much of a rapper. Solomon could spill some verbiage, but we're going to come back and we want to introduce you to Bryan Hudson, who has the take on technology today, teaching our young people responsible ways to use this technology, ways that they can go make money, ways that they can be educational leaders in the future.
Doing good.
We're just gonna embrace him. So you stick and stay. We're gonna play a few more songs for you. Dr. Mark Eckel, Harold Bell, Comenius Institute, Warp and RadioNext.tv on the Cool Groove site. We are back. You are listening to the Comenius Institute, Warp and Woof Radio. Dr. Mark Eckel. And before we get going, Dr. Mark, I have to just give this big plug out today. RadioNext.tv family is proud. Rodney Stepp is one of the great members here at RadioNext.tv, former keyboard player and musical director with the Spinners.
Oh,
and,
nice.
They're going to be at the Jazz Kitchen tonight, 54th and College Avenue. If you want to get out and check out some great music, 7 o'clock p.m., you can check Mr. Rodney Stepp out, and I'm sure you'll be entertained. But we have a special guest in studio today. But I want you to remind the audience, Mark, about the biblical philosophy of technology as it pertains to Ecclesiastes, since that's where we resided today in our Bible.
There you go. Well, honestly, I can kind of summarize it in a phrase. The Creator created creatures who creatively create from creation. There it is. And it doesn't matter what it is that we're creating. It doesn't matter what it is that our passions are. There are always going to be the creative folks who are going to push envelopes and do good things in the community with the authority God's given them, but within the accountability structure that we also have here. So I want to just be thrilled this morning to introduce my friend Bryan Hudson. I want to welcome you to the show this morning. And I want you just to kind of introduce yourself, your ministry, your business, your connection to discipleship through technology. You just kind of take it away here and talk about those things.
Well, thank you, Mark, and thank you, Harold. Good to see you again. And
Good to see you, too.
And as well, you, Mark. Well, my life is about communications, about influencing influencers. It's about helping people through the gospel of Jesus Christ. As a pastor, as a Bible teacher. As a consultant, I work with ministries and helping to empower them with technology used correctly and with the techniques and best practices that go along with that. Also, I'm blessed to be the husband of a wonderful wife of almost 37 years and 3 weeks.
Congratulations.
4 children. First grandchild last year.
All right.
And so being a father is, they're all grown now, but being a father has informed a lot of what I understand about life. Dads know this. The New Covenant Church is our church. We've been pastoring for 34 years.
Oh,
Same
my.
church, loving the people, serving the people. I love pastoring. I think pastors are underrated. We have apostles and bishops running around, but the pastors are always with the people.
There you go.
The church will always be there. And so that's primarily my main ministry focus. But teaching the Word of God is a huge part of my life. I've authored several books. I maintain a blog. I maintain a website full of resources at bryanhudson.com. And as far as the business goes, the business is part of my consultancy. So Vision Communications is actually a nonprofit business under the church.
Nice.
And so that we consult with, again, churches and nonprofit organizations doing websites. Newest venture is media, mobile apps.
Yes.
We're doing installations of video equipment, HD, camera systems, live stream, all that kind of stuff. All the above.
What we've been talking
All the
about
above,
today.
okay?
That's right.
But I look forward to talking about technology. To me is not equipment. We'll get
Okay.
into that. Not the equipment. That's one of the I call it the technology trap. Technology trap is thinking the equipment is the key. The technology comes before the equipment, and it's an extension of the equipment. We'll talk about that. But to your point, I'm glad to be here. I've heard the discussion up till now, and I'm just fascinated, Dr. Mark, with your insights. And, of course, my cousin Harold. I'm in awe of you, brother.
Man, I want you to know something. We might as well get the tissue. Give me the tissue. You don't give me the tissue moment over, man.
Knowing from where we've come from, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, God's been good to us.
Very well.
And you have seized the moment, and you've taken hold of the grace of God in your life. That's what we need to do. Take hold of the grace of God. To me, grace is everything God has that He makes available to us.
If you're willing.
Nice.
If you're willing to receive it. God's grace provides everything we need.
That's
salvation
wonderful.
and everything else we need. So, Mark, thank you for the introduction. I appreciate it.
Oh,
Hey,
absolutely.
Mark, before we go anywhere seriously on this note, and I told you off air, there is a reverence of some people that you have when you know you're not worthy of going around until you get it right. And I was so happy when I got it right to be back and say, "Cuz I'm right."
Yeah.
Well, we always saw it in you, brother, and you seized the opportunity. That's all I got to say about it. To God be the glory, and to you be the credit.
We're grateful for you guys. Being family obviously is a wonderful thing, and I'm just thrilled to be here to see this interaction. Even on air. I want to Bryan, if you wouldn't mind to unpack this idea of technology a little bit further. When you talk about the issues of technology and so on, one of the things that you have done, and I'm fascinated to hear what you have to say about, it's not the equipment, but I'm fascinated then to hear you talk about some of the things that you're doing in the community to do good with people that are in the community. Talk a little bit about those.
Yes, in the community we're doing a lot of course, traditional church ministry, evangelism, discipleship, food pantry. But we've had a program called Multimedia in Focus, Media Camp, going into our 17th year.
Wow.
This summer. And that's a program that's based on technology, properly understood, and we talk about that in a minute, that does kids access our cameras, our computers, all of our gear. But the crux of it began in 2000. I was talking to a pastor friend who's coming back from lunch and heading back to the office, and we sat in the parking lot there and talking about youth and the negative impacts of media upon youth, and just lamenting the state, even then, of media upon youth, mainly television, less so internet back then. Just complaining, basically, just fussing, complaining. And it was as if the Lord said to me, okay, what are you going to do about that?
There you go.
Because complaining is pretty easy to do.
Yes.
And God doesn't much like it when we complain. And so in that moment, I had just a thought from my heart that I should start a program to train youth how to use media. And the basic idea was to transform them from being consumers to being producers.
Wonderful.
Flip the script around.
There you go.
And so it began from there.
Okay.
And we applied for our first grant with Lilly Endowment. They gave us some money the very first time we asked for it.
Nice.
And that was, of course, encouraging.
Yeah.
I was going with or without the money, but the money did help. You know, when God says do something, you start. You don't wait for somebody else to help you do it.
Right.
He'll send somebody, but you start, and he sends the help. And so from there, we have been enjoying this experience. So now, all these years, we have young people now who are adults. We serve kids 11 to 18.
Okay.
So just add up those years. We have now young people who are in their 20s and 30s, many of whom are in careers.
Nice.
They're in careers doing production and broadcasting and music and all the rest. And those who are not are using those skills in other professions. I tell folks all the time that you can use skills for writing and photography and media production. Those are transferable to many other types of jobs. It adds value.
That's right.
To you when you go look for a job. You have all these skills. So the experience has been wonderful. And best of all, we've helped kids tap into their God-given grace.
That's it.
To their God-given potential.
Yes.
We speak about that God has placed gifts in you. The Bible says in 1 Peter 4 that we should serve others by the gifts and the grace he's given to us.
That's right.
And minister from that.
That's
and
right.
Give God the glory. So we're good stewards. And we teach kids that. Although the program is not a church Christian program, we have unsaved kids. We had a Muslim kid in there. But we pray every morning. Okay. I tell kids, hey, it's a church. You can't keep us from praying.
That's right.
You don't have to pray. We're going to pray. Okay. And so we don't force people that way. But we find that kids come around to appreciate our church is doing this.
Yeah.
And the preacher's doing this.
Yeah.
Why are they doing that? Because we love you.
Yes.
And we have a mission from God. And God does these things for people. So it's a witness.
You have set such a deep taproot of 34 years in the same church, in the same community, and now halfway into this, you're doing this wonderful good work with young people that are doing good works now that are spinning off out of all of this.
Yes.
So think for just a minute and talk with us for just a moment about the issue of the spin-off. Can you tell us a story of somebody that has come out of your media camps that is now doing the good thing in the culture, as Titus suggests?
Yes. One young man comes to mind right now. I won't give his name, but he was a son of an unmarried mother, and so I was there when he was a baby, and he came on up early in the ministry. And we loved his mom and loved him. And so we started the camp. He qualified for the camp when he became 11 years of age. He came on in. And this young man took hold to these principles. We taught about the grace of God, how you can understand your gifting and grace and give you tools to access that grace. And then he learned from us and went back to high school and learned more, and went to Ball State to the TCOM program.
Great.
Got a degree in TCOM, telecommunications, and he ended up working at a local television station at the desk deciding what news goes out on the air.
Oh!
Wow. Deciding.
He's an influencer now.
Yes, he is an influencer. And part of my role is to influence influencers.
There you go.
And my own son, Jonathan, is a high school teacher, teaching media at Greenfield Central High School. And I have a young lady in Kansas, Wichita, Kansas, who's doing production at her church in Kansas. We actually have lost track of all the stories. We should gather those stories up.
Please, we got to write. You got to write a book.
We should do that. We're just serving God and doing the right thing, not paying attention. But we should go back and get these stories. But to the point, whenever we discover our grace and gifting, and adults have to help us do this, when we get a hold to it, it is a life transforming moment, and it does create a momentum toward a brighter future.
That's right. Yeah. The issue of helping people to do good, and we're supposed to be doing good in our own culture, and now we're manifesting that in the lives of other individuals and people, and how important this is as we go forward in our own thinking, in our own communities, in our own churches. Doesn't matter where you live, what time you live, what culture you're in, the people that you're around. I'm going to come back, Bryan, one more time to this concept that you have brought up a number of times now, and that is the idea of just loving people. Talk for just a minute about the importance of just loving folks.
Jesus said that the thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy. He only comes for that. But I've come to give you life.
Yeah.
And so God is love, God is life, God is light. But the love of God in particular, God has power, God has grace, but God is love. And so reflecting love, and love being doing selfless work for other people, not being selfishly motivated, but helping people for the helping sake, for the grace of God's sake. When people are being abused in society, both directly and indirectly, people are hurting for many reasons. But when someone shows genuine love, and they can see the difference from genuine love and somebody trying to use them again.
That's right. Yep.
But genuine love of God is consistent. Anyone can show up and say, "I love you," God loves you. You don't see him again. But to have a systematic and consistent method.
There you go.
To reach out to people. Folk take notice of that. That's very powerful. So Jesus, I think about Abraham. Abraham was promised to have a son at advanced age, and his wife laughed. He's like, please. But God kept coming back and reinforcing them. One day he said, let's go out here at night. Look at all these stars. See those stars? So shall your descendants be. And God kept, and the Bible says in Romans, he became fully persuaded.
Yes.
So I think love can persuade, not in the first instance, but I think through consistency, it will persuade.
And commitment to the individual people that you're living with.
Yes, sir.
Man, this is powerful stuff here, HB.
Well, you know it's powerful when HB doesn't say too much, but we're going to come right back. This is Comenius Institute, Warp and Woof Radio on the Cool Group site at RadioNext.tv. RadioNext.tv on the Cool Group site, Comenius Institute, Warp and Woof Radio, and that was Mr. Rodney Stebbins. An opportunity to check him out tonight, 7 p.m. down at 54th and College at the famous Jazz Kitchen. And we are back. Bryan Hudson, special in-studio guest, family, and all of that. Dr. Mark Eckel, man, I am loving this.
This is a great show, isn't it?
Yes.
We need to get back to Bryan to ask him a very important question. We talked in the first segment of this hour about all of the good work that the media camps are doing, that Bryan has established in his community with his church and so on. So kind of segueing back into that, Bryan, could you tell us the biblical framework for your use, for your emphasis in technology? Talk about that a little bit.
Okay. Let me begin with kind of reframing technology for our discussion. Here's a quote I'm going to share with you from a man named Stuart Brand. Once a new technology rolls over you, if you're not part of the steamroller, you're a part of the road.
Oh.
Okay? Oh. Technology not understood steamrolls us. Because technology, as I said earlier, is not the device. Because think about this, the word technology has been in use since the 19th century. And the root word techne really deals with artisans and craftsmen and techniques and methods and a systematic way of doing things. And the dictionary even tells you that it's defined as the practical application of knowledge, especially in a particular area. No machines.
No machines.
And what's happened is, I call it the technology trap. We think that if we get, like, I got a camera here, okay?
Yeah.
Well, okay, I can put this camera on A, automatic, and just shoot, and it auto focuses, it auto exposes, auto everything. Give any person this camera, get good pictures. Now, one of my cameras from the 1980s, nothing was automatic. Manual focus, manual exposure. The technology for photography must begin inside of you. Now, the Bible says in Romans 1:25, they exchanged the truth of God for a lie and worship and serve created things more than a creator. We're into created things. Whether it's the phone, the iPhone, the latest iPhone. They're going to announce more iPhones in 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah.
Here we go again. So now this phone I have is not good enough anymore. Now, I haven't figured it out yet, but it's not good enough.
It's not good enough.
Right? So we are so, I'll say, duped, if you will, by the marketing culture. We think that if I get the latest device, latest computer, I'll be up to speed. Another example. My wife is a school teacher at School 48 at 34th and Fairfield. Master teacher. Kindergarten teacher. They've had 3 technology grants over the past 6 years. One from Dell, one from Apple, 2 from Apple. They got Dell laptops, they got iPads, they got more laptops, and nobody ever figured out what to do with it. They got what they thought was, we need technology. Okay, here's a grant. We're gonna give you 50 computers over here, 100 iPads over there. That's a technology trap, because if you don't know the instructional design, the technology of instruction, technology of how to use tools, what's the best tool for the best job.
There it is.
Which often is not a computer.
That's right.
It's not a computer. The book is one of the greatest technologies.
Yes, preach it now.
Because books, don't need batteries. So I'm saying is technology is the process. Here's my definition. I'll sum it up for you. My definition of technology is, I just shared it with you. Yeah, the practical application of knowledge, especially in a particular area, is a capability given by the practical application of knowledge. So it's about applying knowledge. And that's where we come down to what knowledge do we need, and what tools now fit the purpose for which
there it is.
We're working.
Yeah.
And so as instructors of anything, we need to be technicians in the field we say we're going. How are we going to apply what we need to give to empower people in that area?
Yes, sir. Think about it, Harold. What you're doing, your technology is not this computer in front of you or the mixer over here. It's what God gave you that you figured out, gained knowledge, and found a way to apply your knowledge. And the key is you can apply it and it works the same way every time. All right? A technology doesn't work just one time. It works every time.
Yeah.
That's right.
The way you study, Dr. Mark, the way you prepare, Dr. Mark, the way you prepare is a technology of the heart, of the mind. And then once you've got your technology intrinsically
Find
within
these
you,
tools.
go find your tool.
There it is.
So I can take great cameras. I can take a great photo with any camera. Any camera. Give me any camera. A broke camera. With one exposure on it, one exposure setting on it. Because once you know the technology of photography, the camera is an extension. So again, I understand we say technology. We do, in common knowledge, refer to equipment. I know that now. I can't change the world's thinking about that.
Right.
But I want to inform how we think so that we'll stop falling into a technology trap and trusting technology to do for us what we haven't done for ourselves by seeking the Creator. Again, we should worship the Creator more than created things. things.
So the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom.
Yes, sir.
And there it is where we start with that. So we talked about this actually in the first hour. We talked about the necessity of tools, not teaching people what to think, but how to think.
That's it.
So when you think about these kinds of things, let me take this just a step further and ask the next question. What's the most destructive attack that technology has today, and how do you think Christians can contribute to the good of any community through this technology?
I think that when parents think of technology, as I mentioned, a device, okay, Johnny, I'm going to give you an iPhone. Just give him an iPhone.
Yeah.
With no instruction, no plan. And the iPhone has on it internet capability 24/7. Kids can download apps parents aren't aware of. That's the real trick is kids have apps parents know nothing of. Kids have left Facebook. They're off of Twitter. They got their own Snapchat and so forth. Well, point being, when you perceive technology as something you think will help the parent, I'll buy a laptop for my child. I'll buy an iPhone for my child, an iPad, or a car. All these things without context, without the fear of God, without a plan, without understanding the application of knowledge, they become big distractions. Myself, I like gear. I buy gear. I get low on gear sometimes. I got to go buy something. I myself have things I don't use anymore. I bought it with the illusion. I know better. Still bought this thing. Not even using it. Anything you have and don't use, what does that tell you? It tells you
it's worthless.
Your plan, your technology was not in place. Your purpose and your plan was not set before you reached out and spent money. But the marketing messages are powerful. Marketing is such a strong force today until we oftentimes, it's called impulse buy. They want us to be impulse buyers more than thoughtful buyers. Going to the store, blue light specials going on. This is marked off for $20 off, $100 off. No, don't make a decision then. Leave. Don't buy the first time. So technology, when you're formed by technology as intrinsic understanding and preparation to serve God's purpose, it helps keep everything else in perspective as regards equipment.
So when we talk about this whole discussion this morning, I keep hearing you come back to this one word again, this word intrinsic. When you talk about intrinsic development of the individual, intrinsic development of the child, or of any person, doesn't really matter. Talk about what that means to you. Define that and then apply it for us, intrinsic.
Well, we're all made in God's image.
There you go.
And intrinsic means it deals with things that are within. That's a basic meaning. Extrinsic, things that are without. Well, if we recognize God has made us in His image and likeness, we have value, inherent intrinsic value. When we live out of the value and the grace and gifts of God in us, then we'll have a more reliable guide for future success and purpose. So then, for example, my parents recognized artistic ability. I had a gift for that. I could organize people, do things. We used to shoot films, 8mm films.
Oh, nice.
Out in Washington Park.
Yeah.
I had friends jumping out of trees on cue.
To get on the film.
To get on the film. I didn't jump. They jumped. All right. But it was a precursor of the grace of God in me to organize people, put things together for people. And so my parents recognized that and helped me understand. My training was necessary training, went to art school and so forth. The point is, we need to just push back this equipment for a little bit and have a discussion, have prayer, think about what is the grace of God in your life? What's the gift of God in your life? And now let's figure this out and then find out what tools help that purpose. Now, I use Macs all the time. People say, Brian, you're a Mac snob. No, I'm not. Macs just fit my purpose.
But what you do.
I got PCs as well for number crunching. I got Macs for video. But it doesn't matter. We have to just take a step back and pray and reflect on God as creator. What does that mean to me? What did He create me to do?
Yeah,
That's the first thought. What am I created to do? And then work from that point of reference and then work out towards the acquisition of knowledge, of skills, equipment, and you end up at the right place.
Yeah.
We're going to take a break. Boy, I am so happy I have your genes running through my genes, boy, and the God you serve is my Father. You listen to Comenius Institute, Pastor Bryan Hudson in the house giving some real knowledge. And when we come back, what we want to do is we close the show down. We want to talk about how are we going to get the technicians to understand what they need to do more so than the tools that are available for them to do them with. This is Cool Groove Radio on RadioNext.tv. RadioNext.tv on the Cool Groove site, Comenius Institute, Warp and Woof Radio, Pastor Bryan Hudson, special guest in the studio, Dr. Mark Eckel. This has been, this is power packed. This is just our fourth week, and we're getting ready to blaze a trail using this information age tool.
Yes.
With
Absolutely.
our technology.
That's right. And one of the things we talked about off air was this issue of reason and purpose and meaning, and the great question of life is why. So, Pastor Hudson, would you come back to that question for us and kind of move us into the reason, purpose, and meaning issues and the question of why, and tie that then to technology?
Knowing one's purpose and knowing why one is born, I think, is a key question of life. Because life presents us all kind of opportunities and relationships are there, but out of all the choices we have, how do you choose a path? How do you know what your life should be about? Well, as the Bible said, we read earlier, the scripture said in first Romans 1:25 that people worship and serve created things when the Creator. So if we have created things around us and not have the Creator in us, within us, through Christ, we can never fully tap the purpose for our lives. So the question of why comes down to, why was I born? Only God can answer that question. Now, he answers the question not so much by speaking from heaven. He answers the question through discovery of your gifts. Sometimes as a writer today, I gained writing skill. I had writing skill. I learned to love writing at Arlington High School under a man named Mr. Urbane, English teacher. I sat in the back row of his class. After lunch, I napped with a book propped up in front of me. We had an assignment, write a paper, some science fiction paper. Forget the subject. Wrote the paper. It was he loved the paper. He was so impressed, he brought me to the front row.
Oh.
And made me sit up. And that man helped me discover the why of writing.
Nice.
And I've been writing ever since.
Nice.
Because of that man recognized something in me. So when I say God does, he does it. God does it in different ways. He uses people, sometimes educators, coaches, and such. So the why is answered by God through any number of means.
One of the things that comes right alongside that is this issue of understanding your responsibility as a pastor, your responsibility as a teacher, educator. And this kind of thing then moves into the discipleship issue, because you're looking at young people saying, hey, I see something in you. This is what I see in you. How about telling us a story about vision communication and what young people have come out of that with, and maybe something that they're doing right now because of your work?
Yes, I'll share about now our workshop. We hold every summer in June, multimedia focused workshop. Here's a story I'll share with you. Every summer we have 4 weeks. We have 2 sessions per week. Kids take like video 1 week, come back, take photography, and so forth. But on Monday of every week, we have 5 days to teach these methods and these tools and techniques. On the first day, the first half of the day, we don't even touch a computer.
Oh.
We don't touch a camera. We have pencil and paper.
Oh.
And that we are teaching the technology of the process of production. And so we don't start with the computer. So discipleship is about being a student. It means learner.
There you go.
It means learner. And learning has to happen from the heart of the instructor, the discipler, if you will, to the heart of the disciple. It's heart to heart. It's face to face.
Yes.
And so at that level, technology technology that is equipment gets in the way. We teach technology before we touch the equipment. And so that's an example of how we've had young people come in who are autistic. We've had kids come in who have had behavioral issues. And that it's amazing, almost every single one, when we get into the discussion of what technology is and what the media is and how we're going to use these tools and what our goals are and how God's given you grace for these things, a different part of their life and their mind locks in.
Yeah. Nice.
And they become productive. They cease being consumers.
Yes.
And think like producers. And producers have a plan and think and see the whole picture. And so that so by the second half of the first day, we're getting into the equipment. And in my son's class, Jonathan, video class, by the second day, they have produced a short film.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Now, you could not produce a short film if you started with cameras.
Okay.
Right? You got to start with the techniques, the knowledge. You got to disciple in this, in this context, of course, because discipleship is biblical. I mean, it's about making Christians and serving God. But I mean, this context of discipleship, where we need to just set aside the equipment, and then, as one person said to me, Professor Brush at IU once said to me, he says, I'm not going to be a sage on the stage. I'm going to be a guide by your side.
A little rhyming.
See, sages on stages do not connect you with purpose.
Yeah.
We have to connect with people personally.
So what I'm hearing you say is that you need to see people's individual gifts and talents, but in order for that to happen, that actually has to take place in the same place, face-to-face, as you well suggest. So talk just a moment about, as we're in this world in the 21st century, everything is about what's on the internet and so on. Talk about the importance of being face-to-face in the same place.
Yes, it is important. The gospel, is facilitated by devices and so forth. But we know, and we have ourselves proven in our own success, that unless somebody put their hands on us, and touched us with grace and love and knowledge and looked us in the eye, held us accountable, you can't hold accountable people online. You can't. You can try, but
you can try.
They can fake. So we can never, with all of our technology of information and transportation and so forth, we still have to value time on task with people and roll up our sleeves and get in there and help somebody. Now, once we've made that connection, it's possible to do a lot of information transfer via internet, via email, via books and such like that. But the vital connection that God wants us to make with people, I believe, is personal.
So when I'm hearing you say all of these things and all of these wonderful comments that you've made thus far, it makes me think of this old famous phrase that you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. So talk for a moment about the question of, okay, some people are out there listening to us saying, but I see bad in this and I see bad in that and we shouldn't do this and we shouldn't have that. But what about how we're just saying no to something that might actually be beneficial? So the baby in the bathwater thing, how do you respond?
That's a lack of understanding. It's amazing how when people don't understand what they're looking at, they misconstrue. For example, when I was a painter, I've done painting as well, I found that you couldn't let people look at the canvas too early. Because when you're painting, you build the background, you build layers. It looks disjointed. Now, in the mind of the artist sees the whole picture. So I think people sometimes don't give themselves an opportunity to see the whole picture for passing judgment on what little they do see.
Oh, there you go.
I remember I had a radio host on regular radio criticize me. You preachers, you don't do anything. I was on his show, face to face with him. I said, look, brother, let me tell you something. We've been doing media camps for like 14 years then. And I gave him the whole rundown. He like, you doing all that? Yes, we're doing that. Didn't know, did you? Right. So sometimes people, they're down on what they aren't up on.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, our society has kind of trained people that way, where we tend to be negative on things we don't understand.
Yeah.
But I just pray people would give God an opportunity to open their eyes to things they haven't yet understood. For example, kids on camp. Kids say, well, I want to take photography. I don't want to take video.
Okay.
Well, no, take video. I don't want it. They take it. I loved it.
Every time.
Every time. Because you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah. And here's the issue about education that's so important. We have this tendency to say, well, the teacher, the curriculum, or the content doesn't matter. But what is necessary is that you have to have somebody who knows something in order then to communicate that something to somebody else.
Yes. we must learn how to learn.
There you go.
My dad told me that, and my dad didn't go to college, and he's a technical man. He went to ITT for automotive mechanics. He said, "Son, in high school you'll learn how to learn. In college you're going to learn, or in post-secondary you're going to learn. But learning how to learn,
yes,
is really vital.
Sounds like tools.
Without tools, I mean, the technology of instruction is supposed to help children calculate, compute, read, reason." So that when they go to the level of being trained and getting to the purpose, they can go straight to those places of training and not struggle with reading or computing or thinking.
Right. All of those things are so important and powerful. When I think about what you're doing in terms of technology and helping young people with this and discipleship focused on anybody's gifting, I think about this is just such a powerful opportunity to have you on air, but also for the Indianapolis community to know that you're here. So if you would tell us a little bit, or tell the audience, what would you like to leave the audience with today that they could take away with them and say, yeah, I want to keep following Bryan Hudson?
Yeah, I would ask audience to keep discovering, keep learning, keep seeking out tools. And so I would offer my Media Camp website, which is visionmultimedia.org. And that's for the young people for summer camp, visionmultimedia.org. My personal website for biblical resources and inspiration is bryanhudson.com, Bryan with a Y, bryanhudson.com. And my company website is visioncomsolutions.com. We do high-level work for churches, ministries, organizations, websites, mobile apps, and such like that. So we have a lot of resources. Each website has links to the other one.
Okay, good. Good.
Or just Google me.
Yeah, right. Find you on Facebook,
I'm
Twitter.
out there.
Okay.
This isn't technology.
I'm way out there. I'm out there. But thank you, Dr. Eckel, for this time. Thank you, HB, for making it happen.
Come on, man.
Love you, man. I appreciate
Love
you
you
both.
back.
Thank you for the opportunity to come on and talk.
Absolutely. Wonderful opportunity.
We want to make you a regular around here, and we
Isn't
still
that
have
the
to
truth?
talk about that.
Yeah, we do. Absolutely. We got
It's in the plan. It is.
Oh, I know that's right. I know, seriously, because any kind of information that we can give to help empower, like you say, we have to create ways where people can gain this information. Everybody's not going to be able to stop and go back to school, and a place where they can come and get warped and woofed.
There you go.
Love that phrase.
Yeah.
Fabric.
The issue of intersecting, the cross-pollination of what's going on in this radio show across Indianapolis, intersecting with all different kinds of folks who are doing good, Titus 3, in the community. That's what we're after. That's what we want to do. We want to keep pushing that envelope.
And as we end today, we want you to stay tuned. We have financial literacy coming on 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock p.m. and the Wednesday antidote tonight, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. And don't forget tomorrow, the debut Indianapolis Recorder, 121-year-old newspaper, merging with this new age medium, and we're going to put information out to the world in abundance. So we enjoyed you today, and we'll see you again next Wednesday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This has been Comenius Institute, Warp and Woof Radio.